It's uncommon to find serial killers among women, but it's even more rare to find women going the extra mile to kill their own children. Today's story is quite disturbing, as it is a story of twin sisters who murdered their kids.
Tomorrow, we expect to learn more about the deaths of 3 children in the Ellis County town of Italy. The children's mother is jailed and charged with their murders.
Troyshaye Hall and Shemaya Hall are 2 Black American girls who were born on July 11, 1997. The young women were from Texas and grew up together under the care of their doting parents. However, when they turned 20, both women became increasingly violent. On June 17, 2021, Madison Petrie, a 7-year-old girl, lost her life after being brutally stabbed to death more than 30 times. The gravity of such a crime on a little girl was puzzling, but what was even more shocking was the fact that her mother, Troyshaye Hall, was the one responsible for the crime. Barely 2 years later, in 2023, another stabbing incident occurred. This time involving 5 small children, 3 of whom died from their wounds and the other 2 were critically injured. Once again, the mother of these children, Shemaya Hall, was arrested in connection with the stabbing.
25-year-old Shemaya Hall, and she's in custody this morning, facing capital murder charges. Hall was booked in jail around 11 last night.
Coincidentally, Shamaiya is the twin sister of Troyshaye Hall, who was accused of killing her 7-year-old daughter 2 years ago. The question you'd be asking now is, what could have driven these twin sisters to kill their own children in such a brutal manner? This is the twisted case of twin sisters, Troyshaye and Shemaya Hall, who not only share the same birth date but are also partners in crime. It's June 18, 2021 in southern Texas, and the newspaper columns and daily tabloids are filled with reports of a heinous crime committed the previous day, June 17th. One caption headlined it, "Woman confesses to stabbing 7-year-old daughter to death." In the details of the story, a South Dallas mother is charged with capital murder and aggravated assault after police say she confessed to stabbing her 7-year-old daughter to death.
New this afternoon, police have charged a 24-year-old woman in the stabbing death of a little girl. Troyshaye Hall has been charged with capital murder and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. It happened yesterday, southeast of Dallas's Fair Park.
Dallas police reported that 23-year-old Troyshaye Hall killed her daughter after stabbing her more than 30 times and also injuring a 16-year-old family friend. But it wasn't clear what caused the seemingly unprovoked attack or why Troyshaye switched from trying to stab the visitor to stabbing her kid. Police were called just before 2 p.m. to a home in the 2900 block of Fraser Street near Spring Avenue where the attack was reported. Officers at the scene spoke to Hall's mother, who told them that she had been in a rear bathroom in the house when she heard screaming. Hall's brother then told her that Troyshaye had stabbed his teenage friend, and they found her in another bathroom with a knife in her hand. Her mother and brother tried to take the knife from her, but she managed to get away from them and began stabbing her daughter. Troyshaye's mother ran outside for help, and a neighbor who works as a Dallas County Sheriff's deputy went in to check on Troyshaye and Madison. When she eventually walked out of the house, the neighbor ordered her to get down, handcuffed her, and left her in the front yard. He then went back inside and, because 7-year-old Madison had grievous injuries and he was worried it was taking too long for an ambulance to arrive, put her in his vehicle and drove to a fire station several blocks away. The girl was taken to Baylor University Medical Center in Dallas, where she was pronounced dead. An autopsy conducted found more than 30 stab wounds on her body. The teenage boy, who was present in the house and had been stabbed in the shoulder blade and back, required surgery. Fortunately, he survived the incident. Weird enough, as she was being arrested, Troyshaye Hall quickly admitted to committing the crime. After the arrest, Troyshaye was remanded at the Dallas County Jail, where bail was set at $1.5 million. She was, however, found incompetent to face any capital murder charges due to the fact that she had just returned from a psychiatric facility. But this wasn't her first time in prison. Back in 2017, Hall was sentenced to 8 years of deferred adjudication probation after pleading guilty to charges of aggravated assault and burglary. The police said she threatened her boyfriend with a knife. Days later, she was accused of forcing her way into an apartment where her boyfriend's female cousin lived and attacked her. The boyfriend occasionally stayed there, and she mistakenly thought the cousin was his new girlfriend. When she was arrested for that offense, Troyshaye initially confused the police by identifying herself to authorities using her twin sister's name. Subsequently, she was placed in the custody of the North Texas State Hospital, which provides inpatient psychiatric services to adults, children, and adolescents. Ironically, even though Troyshaye was yet to be set free barely 2 years later in 2023, a similar incident occurred in Texas. Only this time, her twin sister Shamaiya was the culprit. On March 3, 2023, the Ellis County Sheriff's Office reported that a Child Protective Services caseworker visited a residence on Harris Street in Italy, Texas, where 5 children were living with a relative. Though the reason for his visit was unknown, the caseworker reportedly decided to remove the children from the home. The decision by the caseworker must have upset their mother, Shemaya Hall, so much that she attacked all 5 of her children, including a 6-year-old son, 5-year-old twins, an unidentified 4-year-old son, and a 13-month-old daughter. The concerned caseworker immediately called 911 after he witnessed Shamaiya entering the residence and then leaving with what he believed to be blood on her hands. Following the 911 call, police located the children in the back bedroom of the residence. They were unresponsive and had sustained what they believed to be multiple stab wounds in various parts of their bodies. It was unclear why Shamaiya was at the residence on the day of the incident, since she had lost custody of her kids, and whether or not her presence influenced the caseworker's decision to remove the children from the home. Unfortunately, Shamaiya's violent attack resulted in the deaths of the 6-year-old and the 5-year-old twins. Luckily, 2 of her youngest children, a 4-year-old boy and a 13-month-old girl, survived with critical injuries and were hospitalized. Paternal grandmother LaTanya Reese identified the 6-year-old victim as Legend Chappelle, her son's child. "When I got the phone call about my grandson Legend, we were devastated. We still are," Reese said. "I've been trying not to be angry." The Martin family, relatives of the 5-year-old twins on their paternal side, identified the twins as Aaliyah and Aiden Martin. Aaliyah and Aiden were Legend's half-siblings. All 5 of Shamaiya's children had been previously placed by CPS under the guardianship of another relative. Madam Reese reportedly said she tried to get custody of Legend several times but was unsuccessful. "I wish I would have been able to save Legend," Reese said. "I think about what I could have done different. I don't know. I would have done anything. I want justice for Legend. I'm not going to rest until they pay for what they did. It's not right. I'm tired of crying about it. I'm ready to fight about it," Reese said. "They weren't just taken from our family, they were taken from the community, from the schools, from their friends." Reese told newsmen that Legend loved Spider-Man and the Los Angeles Lakers. He wanted to be a professional boxer when he grew up, and he told his grandmother that he loved going to school because it was where he felt like he could be himself. In the small city of Italy, news spread fast about the murders. Neighbors and friends expressed their shock at the unfortunate incident. "I was flabbergasted," said Teresa Eveland, who lived less than 2 blocks away from the scene. "Helicopters were flying above my home." Miss Eveland had custody of her niece, who attended Stafford Elementary School. She said when she was dropping off her relative a week before the incident occurred, she saw the children alive. "I watched those babies go to school the day before. The little one was holding the hands of the 2 twins. She walked him across the road and I thought, how cute. You know the mom has taught her to help take care of and watch out for her siblings," said Eveland. Little did she know that on the same day, those 3 siblings would be killed. She said her niece was visibly shaken by what had happened and unfortunately could relate to the situation. The reason is that her own little brother was killed 2 years ago by family violence. When Eveland asked her niece questions about what had happened to her schoolmates on Friday, she responded, "I don't know how a mom could do that. They're supposed to protect their children. I pray that the surviving children have some safe home to go to." Reacting to the incident, the pastor of the church, attended by the maternal great-grandmother of the 5 children, blamed the attack on mental illness and urged the public to pray for the children who survived and their grieving family members. "This is the end result of a mental instability that's gone awry," Pastor Preston Dixon of Mount Gilead Baptist Church in Ellis County told newsmen in an interview. "Something happened mentally, and that's where we are." Dixon, who was authorized to speak with the media on behalf of his parishioner, said the surviving children have been coming through surgery after surgery. "We're thankful and grateful for that. Pray for us. We need it," he said. Pastor Dixon, whose church held a candlelight vigil to remember the children who died, said amid all the tragedy, he wanted the public to know that the children were loved. "This family loved those children," he insisted. "Regardless of what it looks like, those children were really loved. That's the message." He suggested that there may have been some confusion in the way CPS handled the case, as Hall's family was under the impression that she was about to regain custody of the children. He also said the CPS visit was unannounced. "We thought the situation would bring about full custody in the next month," he noted. Pastor Dixon also revealed that the house in which Hall's 5 children were staying was their great-grandmother's. But like her twin sister, this was not the first time Shamaiya had run into the police for a similar case of violent behavior. In 2017, Hall was previously arrested in Dallas on an aggravated assault charge after a man accused her of pepper spraying him and then threatening him with a knife. According to the police report, she pulled out the knife from her bra and began waving it at the complainant. Hall did not, however, stab the man. She later signed a judicial confession stating that she did threaten the man, accepted a plea bargain agreement, and pleaded guilty to a lesser assault charge in the case. Her twin sister Troyshaye Hall was named as an accomplice in the case, for which she also was arrested and sentenced. Also in 2020, she pleaded guilty to assault leading to bodily injury after she bit an individual. Following her assault on her children, Shemaya Hall was transported to the Wayne McCollum Detention Center, where she was charged with 3 counts of capital murder. 2 additional first-degree felony charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and family violence were later added. She was held on bonds totaling $10 million or $2 million for each charge. Along with the charges of capital murder, on May 24, 2023, a grand jury also indicted Shemaya Hall on 2 counts of attempted murder. 25-year-old Shemaya Hall reportedly lost custody of her 5 children in July of 2022, after one of them told a neighbor the mother was dead on the floor. A constable who responded to the June 2022 incident told a Texas DFPS caseworker that a police officer found Hall unresponsive. The officer reported that Hall did not know the year or where she was after she woke up and described her as very disoriented and delusional. The constable believed Hall was under the influence and said he saw a white powdered substance on her nose and multiple wine bottles. The constable also said that her pants and underwear were pulled down and that she spoke about sexual abuse. He, however, told the caseworker that he did not believe any men lived with Hall. He described the home as filthy with odors and sparsely furnished. He also told the caseworker that he saw a roll of toilet paper covered in feces in the sink, inside one of the bathrooms. Shemaya Hall was then transported via a CareFlight helicopter to a Kaufman hospital that day. A spokesperson for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services said because of the active investigation, they couldn't comment further, other than the statement put out stating, "We are shocked by this incomprehensible tragedy and are already working with law enforcement to investigate how this happened and why." Hall's mother, who was simply identified as Maya, told a caseworker that her daughter was drinking because she was grieving the loss of her niece and twin sister. Troyshaye Hall, who was arrested in June 2021 for stabbing 2 children in a South Dallas home, killing her 7-year-old daughter and injuring a teen. Her mother also told the caseworker that her daughter had mental health disorders and could be irrational at times, and said she would not release the 5 children to her daughter because of safety concerns. She told the caseworker that she understood she may not be able to take in her daughter's 5 children because of a previous encounter with Child Protective Services, but said there was plenty of family that could step in. It is still unclear which of Hall's relatives gained guardianship of the 5 children after the state removed them from Hall's home. The June 30, 2022 incident spurred an investigation by the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Citing these findings, the caseworker then recommended the state be granted temporary custody of the 5 children. Less than a week later, an Ellis County judge approved the request for the state to gain temporary custody of Hall's children. The children were eventually placed in kinship care in Italy, Texas, the home where the fatal incident took place a year later. Shemaya Hall was arrested on the night of the stabbings. While many details about the incident are still unknown, the stabbings left many residents in Italy, Texas in shock. Texas DFPS also assisted with the investigation into the stabbings. Meanwhile, court records released after the incident revealed that Hall had threatened suicide in the past and was rather aggressive. A North Texas man named DeAndre Dorsey also came forward to claim that he was the father of the oldest child killed. "It's been stressful for me, really hard for me and my family," said DeAndre Dorsey. "I have to stay strong for my mother. She's really upset about the whole situation. There's a lot of different emotions. Dorsey said his mother and stepfather had tried to get custody of the child for the last 4 years while he was in prison. "We didn't get an opportunity for me to have my son because of my background. They used my background to play with the future of my son," said Dorsey, who served time for a manslaughter conviction after the man he got in a physical fight with at a convenience store in Oak Cliff died in 2019. Dorsey said he had planned to relinquish his rights so that his parents could get custody of his son, 6-year-old legend Chappelle, who he last saw in November 2022 during a supervised visit. Our responsibility was for the oldest child, but they, the state, didn't want to separate the kids, so we feel like that wasn't fair to us, that we got cheated out of the opportunity to get him, said Dorsey. They had excuse after excuse why I couldn't get my son. They didn't want to separate the kids and have them go through this type of trouble. Now what trouble are they going through? They would not give him to us while he was alive. Now give him to us as he's no longer here. So I'm like, now we're going to get a lifeless body when we could have received a beautiful soul, said Robert Reese, the child's step-grandfather. He was a good, joyful child. He was a beautiful person. The paternal grandparents said they were working with Child Protective Services in the past to obtain custody. They came to my home, they checked the house, they looked at everything. She, a caseworker, said she liked what she had seen. Everything was fine and was going to see if she could get him, Legend, recommended to come be with us, said Latonia Reese, the child's grandmother, about the time a caseworker took a look at her home. Reese suggested the kids should have lived somewhere else while they were trying to iron things out legally with the court system. Because giving them to an immediate family member is allowing the other family member to have access to those children, said Reese regarding the children living with a relative of the suspect. I couldn't even have one free moment with my son outside of their walls. Every time I had to see my son, it was inside the CPS facility. It was supervised every time. I never got to hold my son, walk my son outside of the CPS facility ever. Never. But now I got to dress my son up, not for a damn prom. I'm dressing my son up to go to a damn funeral, said a sober Dorsey. I knew what was bound to happen. Me and my family knew what was bound to happen. We warned them plenty of times that this was going to happen, said Dorsey, based on the past relationship with his son's mother. A GoFundMe fundraiser campaign was organized by Shantae Hamer for Shemaya's late son Legend Chappelle on behalf of his father, DeAndre Dorsey, and grandmother, Tanya Reese. A total of $60,000 was raised for the funeral rites and handed over to Legend's father. Legend was a happy and healthy 6-year-old boy. He loved Spider-Man, he loved his siblings, he loved school and just being a normal 6-year-old. A message from campaign organizer Shantae Hamer said. His life was violently cut short by his own mother. But Hall's incident came to light as the country was recovering from the case of Lindsay Clancy, a Massachusetts woman who was arrested for strangling her 3 children to death. While the criticism heaped against the accused women is immense in both cases, a surprising question remains as to why Hall was convicted of capital murder while Clancy's charges were not so serious. Well, in Shemaya's case, her children were under the guardianship of another family member when they were killed. In Texas, capital murder is punishable by life in prison without parole or the death penalty. In contrast, murder is punishable by life in prison with the possibility of parole. Both murder and capital murder are classified as criminal homicide under Texas law. The two most important distinctions between the two crimes are the way each offense was committed and the punishment that each offense carries. In Clancy's case, Massachusetts does not give the death penalty for even the most heinous crimes. Clancy has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder after being accused of premeditated killings. According to the law offices of William D. Kickham in Massachusetts, first-degree murder is defined by Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 265, Section 1, as the unjustified killing of another person with deliberate premeditated malice aforethought, or murder executed with extreme atrocity and cruelty, or murder resulting from the commission of a crime punishable with death or imprisonment for life. Prosecutors in Clancy's case said they were certain the children's deaths were premeditated and first-degree murder charges come with a maximum penalty of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The maximum sentence for a first-degree murder conviction in Massachusetts is life imprisonment without parole. All first-degree murder convictions trigger an automatic appeal to the state Supreme Judicial Court, and a vast majority of these appeals are not overturned or successful. Clancy is also facing 3 counts of strangulation, assault, and battery. Her defense team has entered an insanity plea, citing mental health issues that allegedly culminated and wrecked her postnatal mind. This could probably be one of the reasons why Hall could be facing the death penalty, while Clancy's trial is mired in a lot of complexities. However, mixed reactions followed the decision of the court, with some netizens describing it as biased and unfair. And that's where we call it a wrap on today's episode on 2 sisters who took the lives of their own children. Let's hear what you think. Are the sisters mentally unstable? Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.